We take you live now to Mississauga, where Peel Police are updating their investigation into a double shooting that left one man dead. Let's listen in.
The Missing Persons Bureau has retained carriage of this investigation, and they'll be working very closely with several other areas of this organization in order to determine what occurred here last night, this morning. We don't currently have any information to release on suspects at this time, and the information that we have on victims will be very limited, as the appropriate notifications to family members of those who have been affected are still going out. This incident is believed to have been isolated in nature, and there does not currently appear to be any further risk to public safety stemming from this incident. However, we want the community to know that public safety is our utmost priority, and no resource will be spared when it comes to investigating incidents like this. We'll now open the floor up to questions. However, I would just like to remind everyone that this is a very fresh and active investigation, so details will be limited at this time.
So you have quite an enormous scene here. Can you tell us about why the scene is so large?
Absolutely. As you can see behind me, this area is very heavily industrial, so there is quite a bit of distance to cover. There are a number of local businesses in the area that will be included in the investigators' canvas as they look around for both surveillance footage as well as persons that might have been in the area at the time that this occurred. As the morning progresses, the scene is likely to be condensed into the areas that are directly relevant to the investigation. However, given the complexities of a homicide investigation, we typically start off with a larger scene and go down as required.
Any reason to believe the shooting is connected to a business within this plaza?
It's too early to tell, only because the shooting did occur just as recent as 6 hours ago. As the morning progresses, it's likely that information will come to light. However, at this time, it's very early, and it's hard to say whether or not it was affiliated to a local business.
Can you say if multiple guns were used in this?
Again, that would also be something that it's too early to tell whether multiple firearms were actually used in the commission of this offense. But as this investigation progresses, that will come to light.
Do you know how many shots were fired approximately? Is it one or two, or is it several?
It's likely that it was several rounds, only because there are multiple victims. However, the exact number of rounds, it's too early to tell. But that will be part of the canvas as investigators go through this area, perhaps looking for casings. And again, as the businesses open up and as our investigators are able to speak to business owners and review that footage, that information will come to light.
But on that note, I try to decipher between, like, if there's a couple casings, or we've been at scenes where there's 30, 40 casings on the ground.
It really is too early to tell at this point, so I'm unable to expand further on that.
Have police responded to this area before in the last couple of years?
I don't have that information with me, and especially if it was for incidents like this one, specific to violent crime. But we are familiar with this general area. But again, I'm not quite certain whether or not that is in relation to shootings and violent crime, or if it was just general calls for service.
Were the two victims known to each other?
That's going to be part of the investigation, both the affiliation that the victims had to each other, as well as the affiliation that they might have had to the suspects involved. But again, this is a very fresh investigation, so that information will come to light as this investigation does progress.
Do we think that the victims and the suspects are separate, like these two victims didn't shoot each other?
I beg your pardon?
We're saying these two victims did not shoot each other?
At this point, the current working theory that we have is that that there are suspects involved that are not the victims, and that they are exclusive of the victims. So it's the theory in place right now is that they did not shoot at each other, like as you had suggested.
What can you tell us about where the victims were found here at the property?
The victims were found a short distance apart from each other, which is a contributing factor as to why the scene is as large as it is. But it's going to be part of the investigation to determine why they were not located in the same spot, and perhaps why and any affiliation they have to exactly where the shooting took place.
Can you give us a better sense of what that short distance is? 5 feet, 20 meters?
It is part of the investigation, only because as you can imagine, when first responders respond to a call for a shooting, things are very dynamic, and as one of the victims was deceased, so he was located in a stationary position, whereas the other suffered non-life-threatening injuries. So the location from where he was initially shot to where he was ultimately located by first responders is still part of the investigation. So I can't give you a definitive answer on that at this time.
It appears back in July there was a quadruple shooting right in this area, commercial plaza. From what I was reading, it sounds like it was very close to here, if not right in this plaza. What is it about this area that seems to draw gun violence? Is there something going on? I'm just trying to get to, is there a business? Is there an after hours something around here?
I'm unfamiliar with the specific incident that you are referring to, and it is too early to say whether or not that incident that you're referring to is related to the shooting that occurred this morning. The circumstances surrounding why the victims were here, why the suspects were here, and what transpired right before the shooting occurred will be part of the investigation. So it is too early to commit to an understanding of what had occurred, but again, that's going to be part of the investigation. So we will be looking into all those things, as well as perhaps any relation that this shooting had to previous incidents, as you had mentioned.
Can you believe there were other people around when this happened, other witnesses, a gathering party?
We are looking into that, and again, as the businesses in the area do open up, we will have access to surveillance, and we can look into exactly who might have been in the area at the time. Our current understanding is that there were other persons in the area. Their affiliation to the victims and the suspects is still being looked into, but again, this investigation is in its very early stages, so we will be looking into all of those things.
You probably can't answer this, but do you think there may have been a vehicle involved? Do you think a vehicle may have fled the scene or something like that?
It is too early to tell. It is possible, and we will be looking into that. But again, as these businesses in the area do open up and our investigators have a chance to review the footage, that information will come to light.
Can you confirm if both of the people were shot outside?
I can't confirm that at this time because the exact location where they were shot is still being looked into.
Were any businesses damaged?
Excuse me?
Were they found outside?
It is still being looked into. My understanding is that one of the parties was, and the exact location for where the second party was found is still being looked into.
Any damage to business or vehicles?
I beg your pardon?
Any damage to any businesses, like gunshots through windows or anything like that?
We are still looking into it. As you can see, the scene is quite large, and there is a very extensive canvas going around with both investigators and uniform officers. So as the morning progresses and as our officers have a chance to again perform their canvas and look through the scene, that information will come to light.
Can you confirm that they're both two adult males?
I can confirm that they are both two adult males. Both the victims are adult males.
And can you say anything about their ages?
I can't at this time only because we are still working on the appropriate notifications, but that information will come to light and we can provide updates once we have, once the notifications have been made.
Are you seeking anything from the public at this time?
As with all of our investigations, we are urging for the community's cooperation in both, if anyone is familiar with the victims or the suspects or have any information on this incident, to call members of our homicide bureau. Even information that might not, if let's say a local business owner perhaps has footage that was oriented toward this area and they don't believe that it's relevant, it still just might be, because it might help paint a picture to our homicide investigators on what transpired before this, before the shooting occurred, as well as perhaps give them information on other persons that might have been in the area at the time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
We've been getting an update from Peel Police officials updating the media in the investigation into a double shooting that left one man dead, another injured.